Filling in for Casey Kasem this week, I'm Ed McMahon. We're counting down the 40 biggest hits in the 50 states. And from the state of California and the city of San Francisco is the band called Train. On their self-titled debut album, they got some help from a member of another Bay Area band. Counting Crows guitarist David Bryson mixed their CD. Here's Train up 3 notches to number 37 this week with their first AT40 hit, Meet Virginia.
She doesn't own a dress. Her hair is always a mess. If you catch her stealing, she won't confess.
American Top 40. Every week, American Top 40 is heard in the 50 states and around the world on great radio stations like 106.9 K-Hits means today's best music, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Seaway Valley and Montreal's continuous hit station, Yes FM, Ogdensburg and Malone, New York. Well, now we're up to the hit Drops of Jupiter. It's by Train, a band whose guitar player was once stuck behind a very slow driver. He says he wondered who this clown could be. When he found out, it put a big smile on his face. It's something that happened to guitar player Rob Hotchkiss when he was with a band called The Apostles. He says they had landed a job playing a small club in Santa Monica, California. As it turned out, Rob lived way on the other side of L.A., in the East Hollywood part of town, a long drive during L.A.'s notorious rush hour. He says one day he went home after his day job and, quote, loaded my amp and guitars into the back of my old Dodge wagon to battle the rush hour traffic across town. He says he was not having a good time. Quote, it's hot. I hate the smog. I hate this town. Traffic's bad. And I'm behind a car that's moving at 10 miles an hour less than anyone else. He says he remembers thinking to himself that he had to get past this clown in that car. Eventually he was able to pass on the left. He was so annoyed, he glanced over to see who was driving so slowly. And he discovered it was a guy wearing face paint, a big red nose, and fluffy yellow hair. He'd been driving behind a real clown. He says, quote, I laughed all the rest of the way to the club. Well, these days, Rob has something else to put a smile on his face. He and his band have one of the biggest hits in the land. At number 9 on AT40, here's Train with Drops of Jupiter.
Number 28.
Pat Monahan is one performer who knows the exact moment he decided to reach for the stars. Quote, I remember turning on MTV and seeing Kurt Cobain sing Teen Spirit. I just thought, oh man, I've got to do that. Unquote. Making his wish come true, here's Pat Monahan and Train up a notch with Calling All Angels.
I need a sign.
Number 34.
This next hit is by Train, whose lead singer, Pat Monahan, remembers how great it was to get his first royalty check.
Now that she's back in the atmosphere, I'm afraid that she might think of me as plain old Jane. Told a story about a man who was too afraid to fly, so he never did land. But
quote, the first time I ever got paid was for our song Meet Virginia. I think it was $30,000. That check paid off all my bills. It was the most liberating moment of my life, unquote. Here's debt-free Pat Monahan and Train down 3 notches with Calling All Angels.
America's Top Hits.
This week back in 2004, one of the top hits in the USA was Calling All Angels. It's by a group who say being rejected made them a better band. It was back in 1997. Columbia Records was close to signing the San Francisco band Train. They liked the band's sound, they liked the band's style, but they turned Train down anyway. Pat Monahan, the leader of Train, says Columbia decided the band needed more polish. And Pat says, quote, they made the right decision. We realized that if we wanted to be professionals, we couldn't party every night. We had to take things more seriously. They got serious fast. Just 8 months later, the record company signed them. Pat Monahan says, quote, they made the right decision again. This week back in 2004, Train had one of the top hits in the USA. Here's Calling All Angels.
I need a sign.
Casey's Coast to Coast.